Hi, my name is Megan, and this is Everything Lit. And today I am starting my Cliterature Readathon vlog. So it is actually Sunday. The readathon starts tomorrow. I will not be staying up until midnight to start it. That's not how I roll, but I will start it first thing tomorrow. And let's talk about the books. So this readathon goes from the 19th to the 25th of February, 1 week, and I'm going to try to read 3 books. That's my goal. We'll see if I get there. I'm also going to be reading probably 2 books in the background that are not in this vlog because I haven't finished them and I probably won't finish them tonight. I really wanted to start the readathon fresh, but can't do it. It's a library book. I gotta read it before it goes back. I will pop the prompts on the screen. There is a bingo board. I'm going for a full blackout because I think the 3 books that I've chosen will fulfill all the prompts. So let's talk about the books. First, I would like to read I'm So Not Over You by Kosoko Jackson. And this is a second chance romance and I believe fake dating, where one of the characters is going to meet his parents or his family for some sort of thing, and he convinces his ex-boyfriend to come with him and pose as if they haven't broken up. Supposedly they solve all their problems and fix everything that went wrong before, and then they don't have to be ex-boyfriends anymore. I have read one other book by this author and I didn't care for it, but I've already bought this, so I'm using it for this readathon. This will fulfill the prompts for an illustrated cover, an LGBTQIA romance, POC author. I think that's it. So this is going to cover 4 of the prompts. I'm going into this with an open mind, but I am aware that it's a second chance romance, which I don't typically love, and it's an author that I have not loved before. However, what I read from this author was YA, and this is adult, and that might make all the difference. Then I'm going to read Raiders of the Lost Heart by Joe Segura. This came out in December, and I'm so excited to get to it. So this is kind of an enemies to lovers vibe. This follows a woman who is leading an expedition in Mexico, archaeology stuff, I believe, and her academic rival shows up to help, and things just start going wrong. It's kind of an adventure romance, I think. If you were gonna put it into like a subgenre, they are gonna have to work together because a thief is lurking around their campsite and their dig, and they do not want someone to steal like precious artifacts. So this also has an illustrated cover, so it works for that prompt too, but I'm going to be using this for the prompt favorite trope because I love an enemies to lovers or rivals to lovers. This is a 5-star prediction for me. I think that I'm going to love this because if it's compared to something like The Mummy or Indiana Jones, then I'm probably gonna like it. I love those like adventure romance comedies, or what's the one that came out? I always forget what it was called, with Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock. The Lost Expedition or something like that. I'll put it on the screen. I probably have it saved because I've done this before and I just can't remember the title, but I really liked that. I thought it was fun, and this is giving vibes. And finally, I'm going to talk about 4 books because I'm going to do a poll pick for this next one, because one of the prompts is to do a poll pick and have someone else, choose your TBR, whether that's Instagram or YouTube. I have mine on YouTube and I will post the results when I get them. So I'll talk about the 4 books in the poll pick. I'll talk about what is winning right now as I'm starting the video, and then we'll see if that's the final answer. So the prompt that I'm trying to fulfill is poll pick and an author that is new to me. So all 4 of these authors are new to me. I've never read a book by them. So I have For Butter or Worse on the list by Erin LaRosa. This is about a chef and a restaurant owner who are on a cooking show, and she did not know that they were going to be co-hosts, and they're kind of rivals or enemies. They don't get along, and I think that their banter on this reality show is really getting a lot of hype and people love it, love their dynamic, and then the paparazzi catch them in a compromising situation, and I think they have to fake date. I love fake dating. I really like rom-coms, like romantic comedy. I like comedy, I like shenanigans, I like wacky situations, and I think fake dating, especially the setup of fake dating, leads to a lot of shenanigans and wacky situations. So like it's the perfect setup for some silliness. Does it always go that way? No. but this is like cooking, reality TV, enemies to lovers, fake dating. Then of course I did pick up Bride by Ali Hazelwood. The hold at my library was just taking too long, and so I bought it. And this is about a vampire girl who has to marry a werewolf alpha to seal some political pact. So you've got a political marriage, maybe enemies to lovers situation, and I think that she has her own reasons for agreeing to the marriage that we find out throughout the course of the book. I've never read an Ali Hazelwood, so if you want this to be the first one I read, it could be. I have The Fake Mate by Lana Ferguson. This is another like shifter were story. I don't know if they're werewolves or if they're just general shifters. Yes, they're shifters. Okay. So we have 2 wolf shifters, and I think our female main character has kept her status, whether she's an alpha or an omega, under wraps, and she starts to fake date. Oh no, he has kept his status under wraps, and they fake date or pretend that they're mates so that no one knows that an alpha unaccompanied is a doctor. Her grandmother is like bugging her about finding a mate. I'm not really sure. I know it's fake dating. So we have what? 2 fake dating so far and a political marriage. I'm really showing my true colors here. Lots of fake dating. So you've got shifters, you've got family expectations, and fake dating, and like a job at stake. But also they're wolf shifters. Did I mention they're shifters? I'm gonna stop saying it now. And finally, we have The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. This is an older book, so I think this came out in 2022, maybe 23. These both came out recently. This one end of 23, like in December, and this one just came out in February. But the Helen Huang is from 2018 or 2019. Let me double check. So this is from 2018. It's been on my shelf for a long time. This is about a woman with Asperger's who has really not had a lot of relationships. She's kind of uncomfortable with the physical aspect of relationships. And so she decides to hire a male escort to teach her how to be in a relationship. So you've kind of got fake dating. We've got like maybe a Pretty Woman-esque storyline. And I've heard good things about this, and I think that it is on my backlist to read books this year. So I will read this at some point this year, if not in this video, but this is my first book by Helen Huang. So I think I have 1 or 2 others on my shelf that I bought before I even knew if I like this. So right now, the poll has been up for about 5 or 6 days, and The Kiss Quotient is winning. I might put it on the screen. People may have already changed this, but I think there are 3 votes for this and 1 vote for this, and that's where the current standing is. So I'm hoping to join in on some sprints this week, really get those romance February vibes out of the way so that we can go into March fresh. I guess I will update you when I have started my first book. First update on the Cliterature Readathon. I'm reading I'm So Not Over You by Kosoko Jackson, and I am 4 chapters in. I'm on page 22. I read a little bit during lunch. First impressions. We have the setup of our character Kian meeting with his ex-boyfriend Hudson, and his ex-boyfriend says, "I need you to be my boyfriend again for 3 days." And it's very voicey, so like we are from Kian's perspective in all 3 chapters so far, and he's definitely got like a voice, an attitude, a style, right? I'm not loving it. I'm only 22 pages in, and I'm just kind of like meh. And the writing is doing something that I don't really care for, where the chapter will end with like Hudson, the ex-boyfriend, being like, I want you to be my boyfriend for 3 days. And then it skips to Kian telling his friends and being like, and that's when I threw my drink in his face. And like, it's just like time jumping for no good reason. I feel like you could have just stayed in the scene and given us how Kian feels about this and like the shock. But I guess if he just stormed out, I guess it's better to just skip ahead and be like, and then I threw my drink in his face and stormed out. But it also kind of like cuts the tension. Like, if you're thinking about a movie, I guess it would work in a movie, but it's not working for me in a book, because then it like skips ahead to him telling about this, and then it kind of skips back to him being like, yeah, and then I stormed out and he tried to do this, this, and this, and I'm not loving it. I'm 20 pages in. I'm gonna give it more time. I don't think I will DNF it. I think I need to read it in full, but it's not looking great. And the whole entire second chapter was just talking about how the ex-boyfriend is so hot and so rich and all the things about him that our main character like used to love. And it just like, I don't know. It feels young. It feels young and not like an adult romance. It's very much new adult. It's giving new adult. I am about 50 pages into this and it's not getting better. I'm not liking the characters anymore. Okay. I don't think that this author's characters are the kind of people that I would hang out with, and therefore I don't really care to read about them. And maybe that sounds racist. I just realized that as I said it. But like, know that I said I like fake dating, but the fake dating is fighting with the second chance romance, and I don't like second chance romance, especially when in the first 50 pages I have been given no reason to root for these characters. It has been a lot of our main character thirsting over his ex, and we don't know why they broke up. We don't know what went wrong. We don't even really know how long, we kind of know how long they were together. I just feel like so much of the first 50 pages has been dedicated to why Hudson is so hot and why Hudson is so desirable. He's like rich and the heir to a distillery, and he wants his parents' approval, and it's trying to make the stakes feel really high, but the stakes are not high. Like, chill out. And they just got in an argument over like nothing, and part of me is already like, what if I DNF this? Which I think I need to keep that option open. But the thing is, the reason I don't DNF a lot of books is because I'm always expecting them to get better. I'm always expecting some sort of payoff. Maybe I have too much trust in authors to actually like make their book good. But I just feel like I'm not even past the setup. It's supposed to be one dinner, and I'm not even to that dinner to find out like maybe why they need to fake date more. I am struggling to get through this. I'm 176 pages in. It is Wednesday, and it is the end of Wednesday. It'll be a miracle if I finish this tomorrow, and I'm supposed to read 2 more books. What am I doing? This is just not working for me. I feel like I don't really know the characters that well. Like Hudson, the love interest, okay, we know he's rich, we know he's hot, we know he's the heir to a distillery, we know he's got a weird relationship with his parents, but we don't really know, like, he doesn't want to disappoint them. They think he's a failure. I don't feel like I know his personality. I don't know what he likes, what he watches. I know that he's hot. There are pages and pages and pages about his voice and how deep it is and how it makes the main character shiver. and we know that he's got this super great jawline, but like, I don't know anything about their past relationship. Like, they talked a lot about stuff. I don't know. I just feel like I don't have a very good idea of like what their relationship was previously. And they both feel really young. And I know that this book is not for me. I am not the audience for this book. But then the question becomes, does this have broad appeal? Will it appeal to people outside of the Black gay identity? And I think probably not. And having looked at the Goodreads ratings, I don't know. It's not appealing to a lot of people. I think part of the issue is that our character is so focused on the money and the heartbreak, but we don't know why they broke up. And it's not like a mystery that our main character is trying to solve. He's not trying to solve why Hudson broke his heart. He's not trying to figure out what went wrong in their relationship. He's trying to get over him and also move on from him, while also fake dating him for this weekend, like, wedding. And it's not, I think the character motivations are lacking. So we don't know as the reader why they're doing these things, which makes the stakes feel like nothing. Like, okay, Hudson doesn't want to disappoint his parents, and they like Kian, supposedly. Okay, what, like, you don't want to disappoint your parents, but like, why? Is there anything bigger riding on that? Like, if you don't shape up, they're going to take away your funds. Like, if you don't join the family business, they're going to do whatever. Like, if you don't, like, the relationship is just strained and we don't even know why. Like, his parents treat him like a disappointment because he wants to be a psychologist. What? It's just not tracking, and we don't know enough about the parents to know why they feel that way. And like, I do get, like, some parents are like, you need to be in business and you need to study XYZ, but also, what do they want him to do instead? They want him to be part of the family business. Like, we haven't spent enough time with these characters, and they haven't discussed why this is even a thing. And the dinner that they had that was supposed to just be the one-stop shop, like, the father did not seem to like Kian, and it did not seem like a good fit. Like, and our main character keeps bringing up how rich they are and, like, I don't know, making snarky comments about stuff. And it's like, okay, that's valid, but how is your relationship supposed to work in real life if this is how you act all the time? And how did your relationship work previously when you're constantly, I don't know, got a chip on your shoulder around this rich person? And like, I get not being able to deal with someone who has so much privilege, because like, I was talking to a guy and we went on like a date or two, and he just had too much privilege, and I was in a bad place mentally, so it wasn't like I could see the person beyond that. I was just like, I can't do this. Like, your grandparents have a lake house that you go to, and you're currently like unemployed and debating whether to go to grad school, and you can just like not work, and you already own a house. Like, I could not. And maybe they worked hard for that house. Like, I didn't even know enough of their circumstances, but I was in such a poor place mentally that I couldn't be empathetic. I just couldn't see past myself. And like, it happens. I get it. But Kian is a hard character to root for when this is a romance. Like, he's gonna have to see past himself and past the wealth and privilege that Hudson has. Also, I feel like sometimes the characters in this book argue about nothing. Like, I just don't understand the conflicts. I feel like everyone is so quick to take offense, and I am lost. Like, Hudson and Olivia, his sister, have an argument in the driveway because Hudson and Kian were making out in the car. They're boyfriends to this family. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean this is embarrassing? Like, it was just like such an overblown reaction for such a normal thing. And because we don't have the context of their family or their extended family or any of that, like, it just felt like it came out of nowhere. Like, nothing in this book makes sense. The further I get into it, the less I know about the characters and the less I care. I'm going to continue reading it because I don't really understand how these two characters fit together. Like, what is going to make them be like, yes, this relationship is going to work? I've already read Goodreads reviews that say we never find out why they broke up in the first place. And like, when you have a second chance romance, they have to fix whatever the problem was. Like, that's part of the book. That's part of the story. So but if I DNF it, does it still count for the Cliterature Readathon? Like, yes, I can make up my own rules. I'm really bad at DNFing a book. I guess I'll talk to you tomorrow and we'll find out if I've DNF'd this. Like, spoiler alert, probably not. Quick update on a Thursday. I did not DNF this. Did we think I would? No. I'm not much further than I was yesterday. I only listened to a little bit on audio, and actually, I think the audiobook is an upgrade. I might keep listening to the audiobook and maybe start reading something else physically, because hearing their voices and hearing some of the intonation maybe makes it a little more enjoyable. Because I feel like if this was a movie and I was watching these characters in a movie, I feel like I would have less issues because, you know, visually we would be able to see more, so maybe hearing it helps a little bit. That doesn't mean I like suddenly love it, but I think that I will be able to enjoy it a little bit more with audio. Secondly, so I was talking about how, like, there aren't stakes or there aren't enough stakes, and I was thinking Kian is doing this, pretending to be Hudson's boyfriend to, like, get an introduction. Oh man, the white hairs are standing out today. So Kian is doing this to get an introduction to this, like, media mogul person so that he can get a journalist job, right? And I was thinking, the stakes are really kind of low. Like, he's been unemployed for a while. It's not like he's gonna lose his apartment. We don't really know his financial situation other than, like, he's not as rich as Hudson, which no one is. So the stakes are low. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be more dramatic, more, like, have higher stakes if Kian was like, I can use this to write an undercover expose. Like, I can write about what it's like to go to the rivers. Like, if they're such a famous family and so rich and built up the way they seem to be in this world, wouldn't getting, like, an insider scoop, insider all exclusive access be, like, kind of a hot ticket writing piece? And if Hudson doesn't know he's doing that and that he's gathering material and writing this thing, it could be almost like a 27 Dresses situation, right? Where they get close and they, you know, talk about their issues, and then Kian uses it in an article. Now, it would have to be something where, like, the boyfriend finds the article after Kian has decided not to publish it or use it or whatever, because I feel like that would be a pretty huge betrayal to, like, write about his family, unless the character arcs are like, his family is so garbage that Hudson needs to see it from an outside point of view to grow and, like, get away from their toxicity. But, like, I'm just writing my own novel over here, and that would be more compelling, more dramatic, and higher stakes than what I am reading right now. And if I can so clearly see, I don't know, how to workshop the story to make it better, in my opinion, I have a hard time enjoying it. The other thing, this book is not for me. Like, this was not written for a 30-something white girl who works in corporate America. You know, like Midwestern, whatever. And that's fine. But it's out there and I can still read it. And I can probably rate it like 2 to 3 stars. We'll see when I get to the end. Depends on how they bring it back. You know, the ending can change my perspective on a story. And that's why I have such a hard time DNFing. It's because, like, the ending could bring it back. The ending could give it a whole nother star. I have finished I'm So Not Over You. It is Thursday evening, and I finished the first book of this readathon. What the heck? I'm so annoyed that it is taking me so long. It didn't get better, but I listened to the audiobook, and the audiobook made the experience better. What does this book do well? The writing is decent. Like, the writing is decent. The representation is decent. Like, I am glad that we are getting queer Black rom-coms. Love that for the industry. Good for Kosoko Jackson getting, you know, putting a foot in the door. However, there was no character development. The romance didn't make sense to me. So it's a second chance romance, right? They're exes. We have no idea what their relationship was like prior to this. We get no information about why they broke up in the first place. The third act conflict was stupid. And the character, like, the epilogue at the end just, like, hand-waved everything. It was like, yeah, I got a job now and we're together and me and my friends are happy and they totally accepted him. And it's like, if this man broke your heart in the beginning of the book, your friends should not be that accepting about him coming back into your life for a third time, because we have a third act conflict in this book where they don't talk to each other for like 2 months. I can also see some glimmers of like Pretty Woman inspiration, but like, your main character is not a sex worker. So it just had 0 stakes, 0 development, 0 romance. Because they already have this established relationship, there is no getting to know you. There is no banter and like learning about each other. Like, they just kind of fall back into this comfortable banter. I guess we learn like 1 or 2 things about them that are new. And then that leaves the question, how long were they dating? They were dating for like a year or more. And Kian didn't know that Hudson had an alcohol problem in high school? What? That never came up. And like, it's not like the book really told us that their relationship was shallow and they just had a lot of sex. They never, like, the book doesn't tell us that. So, but that's kind of what I'm getting. Also, this book is so horny. Every time he sees Hudson, he's like, he's so hot and we used to do X, Y, Z and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, is that really what goes through your head every time you see him? And it really lends itself to the idea that like, he isn't in love with Hudson. He's in lust, that he's just starstruck by that D, you know? So, I think I'm going to give this 2 stars. I did not enjoy it. I did not like it. It just kind of exists. And Kosoko Jackson is not for me. I will not be picking up another book by this author. If something really appeals, if I really, really want to read something by him, I will get it from the library, because this ain't worth it. Now, the goal is to start Raiders of the Lost Heart. Hopefully finish it Saturday. I'm getting my oil changed Saturday, so that means a lot of sitting doing nothing, aka sitting reading. And then I'll have to look at the poll. I think the kiss quotient was still in first place, but I will check in on that when I finish Raiders of the Lost Heart. And I will see you all tomorrow, because I'm gonna go pass out. It's Friday evening, and this morning I started Raiders of the Lost Heart by Joe Segura. I listened to the audiobook a little bit while getting ready for work, and then I have read a little bit physically. I don't mind the audiobook. I think I will keep using it when I need to or when I want to. I also have the audiobook for The Kiss Quotient. So I have both the physical and the audiobook for the books I'm going to read. I'm going to try and knock them both out in the next 2 days because the readathon ends Sunday. Thoughts on this? I'm 50 pages in and I'm liking it. There's something about the writing style that I didn't expect to be quite so, glib. Is that the right word? We're getting a lot of backstory, right? So our main character, it starts off with her getting invited to this dig, and they won't tell her where the dig is, they won't tell her how long it is, and they tell her that she's not going to be the leader of it, she's just going to be a helper. And she says, no thanks. And then they bring up this Chamali, and this person is supposedly, our main character is supposedly a descendant of Chamali, and they are an ancient warrior from the Aztecs. And so they're kind of on the hunt for Chamali and his history, because there's some debate on what happened and how he left the Aztec society before the fall of the Aztec Empire. So we've gotten a little bit of history on Chamali and what that myth or what his history means to our main character. And then we've gotten a chapter from Dr. Ford Matthews' point of view. And what's really interesting, they do not get along. They went to grad school together. So they have this history. There's this night in the library that keeps getting referenced. And it's a little bit frustrating that I'm 50 pages in and they keep referencing the library and that what happened that night. And so they seem to know quite a bit about each other, and I don't know if they were actually friends, but they shared this one night in the library. And I kind of want to know, okay, well, what happened? But if you draw it out too long, I'm just going to get annoyed. Just tell me what happened in the library. So I think that's where I'm getting around the 50-page mark. I think we're about to learn how close they actually got in the library. And that chapter from our main male point of view, he was very into her. He is very here for it. He is she's amazing. I know I come off as an arrogant ass, but I think she's amazing and she's gorgeous, and he's kind of pining for her. And she arrives at the dig and finds out he's there and is annoyed because he does seem like an arrogant ass, and she gets frustrated by the way he communicates and the way he takes attention. I think their dynamic is interesting. I want to see how the story progresses, how the adventure progresses. I think I want a little more comedy, if it's a romantic adventure comedy, a rom-com adventure. I want a little more over the top, a little more weirdness, and I think I'll get that. I think I will get the over-the-top antics getting further into it. I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot more than the other book for this readathon. I think I've mentioned I'm getting my oil change tomorrow, and the dealership usually takes forever, so hopefully I will get a lot of reading done while I'm waiting for my car to be done, and then I have an hour-long drive so I can listen to the audiobook more. So there should be a lot of time for reading tomorrow, and maybe I'll even finish this. But one of the other things I wanted to mention about I'm So Not Over You, and even a little bit this, is that I'm reading 2 other books in the background, really slowly, just 10 minutes a night, that I'm so excited about and so in love with. I'm reading Emily Wilde on my Kobo, and I'm reading The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden. This is one of my most anticipated books of the year. I'm 200 pages in, and this is going to be my whole personality. I love this. This is single-handedly reigniting my obsession with World War One. I had this obsession in like 2011, 2012. I cannot with this. It's not part of the readathon, but I just wanted to point out that I'm reading books that are absolutely phenomenal. It only made me even more frustrated by disliking I'm So Not Over You. Like, it was so hard to read that book and focus on that book when I just want to be reading this. So as you saw, I stopped at Barnes & Noble and I only bought one book. Who is she? And this is only my 4th book of February, so I could have bought another and I didn't. Crazy. But I just wanted to check in on Raiders of the Lost Heart. I have it with me. I think I'm probably like 100, 110 pages in. I've been listening to the audiobook as I drive, and I'm really liking it. I think the horniness is a bit much. Like, both characters are like, he's so hot, he's built, and he's like, she's so hot, look at those tits. And I'm like, is that how people really think when they look at other people? They think, damn, I'd like to motorboat that. I don't think so, but you know, it's a book. What I'm liking though, the adventure. And these characters feel like adults. Every now and then you get an adult romance where the stakes feel really childish. The conflicts feel really childish. In this, our female character, her mother has passed away and a couple of years ago, but like, it does make her feel more adult to be dealing with these issues and that grief and her career and where she's at in her career and trying to advance. And then our main male character, his dad died 2 years ago and his mom is battling cancer, and that's kind of his motivation for doing this dig. And I feel like having those conflicts and those background things be affecting their emotions makes it feel much more adult. These characters are, 35, 36 and dealing with aging parents and advancing their career, and not so much the younger, like, I don't know what I want to do with my life, or I haven't found my dream job yet. And it's just a big difference between this book and I'm So Not Over You. That was very young, like new adult romance, and this is an adult romance, and it feels like it, and I'm really liking it. Editor Megan here for a little clarification. I wasn't saying that one is better or worse in terms of age range. It was just so blatantly obvious that they were both appealing to different age ranges, and like, one is not better or worse. But looking at it, if you have both of these books in the adult romance category and being marketed as adult romances, it's really fascinating to see the wide gap or range in ages and how the characters are portrayed. And I think that new adult is often like brushed under the rug. Like, books are not often marketed as new adult. It's definitely a growing category because of like Sarah J. Maas and those books. But if you remember, A Court of Thorns and Roses and Mist and Fury and that whole series was originally marketed as YA because there wasn't really a new adult category, but they didn't want to put it in adult fantasy because all of her fans were already YA fantasy fans. So it's just getting into like the politics of publishing and how they market their books to have an adult romance with 22-year-olds just graduating college and an adult romance with 36-year-olds dealing with aging parents and like being mid-career. Absolutely fascinating. It is Sunday night and I just finished Raiders of the Lost Heart by Joe Segura. The end of the readathon is technically in like 3 hours. I'm still gonna read The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang because you all voted for it, and I think today and tomorrow, if I read it, I can finish it in 2 days. So I'm gonna extend the readathon one day because guess what? It's my vlog and I can do what I want. Well, let's talk about Raiders of the Lost Heart. I partially listened to this on audio and read the book, and I think the audiobook was really good, even considering the extremely sexy sex scenes. The audiobook was good, did it well. So this is very much inspired by like Indiana Jones, The Mummy, those like adventure romance movies are just, I would say just adventure. Like a lot of them have a romance subplot, but that's not how they're packaged. I really liked the characters. I think they had realistic problems, and as I said in a previous clip, they felt like adults, which I really liked. There was an interesting thread of our main female character, Corey, and how people view her because she is like sexy, she has the body, and how that affects the respect people give her in her field. And that was very interestingly done. I think a little bit of the romance was undercut by our main character, our male main character Ford, constantly thinking about her body, and like, you know, like the text said that he respected her and liked her, and definitely that grew throughout the story, the way that he respected her and the way she provided comfort and their like emotional connection. But he definitely viewed her as the sexy image that she doesn't like really to be viewed as for the beginning of the story. The end did catch me by surprise, had a couple twists, a couple interesting things that happened, and just, I would love to see this as a movie. Like, there are already a lot of movies in this genre, but I would still love to see this as a movie as well. Overall, I think I'm going to give this 4 stars. I really, really liked it. It's not a 5-star amazing romance because the sexiness was like, it was really amped up, and like every time our main male character was narrating and looked at her, he was saying something about how sexy she is and her boobs and her ass, and like it just got kind of tiring to read that perspective. So it's gonna get 4 stars, which is still fantastic. So I am 40 pages into the Kiss Quotient. I don't know how I feel about it yet. Our setup has happened, and it kind of starts with the main character's parents being like, just so you know, we expect grandchildren someday, and we just want to like set that expectation up front. And our main character doesn't really even interrogate if she wants children. She kind of just spirals about, oh, if they want kids means sex, and that means dating and boyfriends, and she is terrified / terrible at that in her head. And she decides, instead of just like trying it out with other people, she needs a professional to help her be better at sex. And I knew that was the setup, but it still felt a little, I don't love that it was generated by her parents being like, hey, we want kids. Our 2 characters, we've met them both. They do have good chemistry, and he does seem to understand her like right away and what she needs. And it makes sense because like that's kind of part of his job, is to anticipate the needs of his clients and what they would like. Wink, wink. I'm not really gonna wink because it would look dumb. But so their first night together happens pretty quick, and she is so like, I don't know, almost, it's not effortless. There are definitely hiccups and her like tensing up and not wanting to do things, and I just don't know how I feel about it yet. I don't know. I'm only 40 pages in. I gotta give it more time. I do have the audiobook for this, so I will listen to that a little bit today and get a feel for maybe the audiobook will help me like it more, because sometimes that happens. Sometimes the audiobook makes it worse. So, but I'm about to do a little workout, take a little shower. It's super nice and warm out, so maybe I will open up the sunroom for the cats. I don't know, undecided. But my friend and I are gonna go see Madam Web tonight, so I will be listening to the audiobook for this on the way there. And I've heard it's terrible, but I'm excited to see how terrible, because like you'd think it can't be worse than Morbius, but I've heard it is. So I'm gonna go eat popcorn. We all know the readathon ended like a day or 2 ago, but I'm gonna finish this vlog. I'm gonna finish this book. I am 200-ish pages in. Yeah, 202. And I'm not loving it, unfortunately. I don't love their dynamic. I think to me, it feels like there's a bit of infantilization happening. Like, the main character is being treated like she can't take care of herself, and I don't love that. And the main conflict, to me, kind of almost doesn't make sense. It feels like a miscommunication trope where he feels like he's not good enough for her because he's a male escort and she's just using him for practice, even though she's pretty clear about how much she likes him. And she thinks that he is, you know, a professional, and so he doesn't actually like feel the same about her as she does for him, because like she's hiring him to be her pretend boyfriend. So like hers makes a little more sense, her line of reasoning, than his. And I guess I get not feeling good enough for a person, but also she's pretty clear in how she feels about him and she cares for him, and you know, this is different for her. And so like it's not hitting, it's not making sense, it's not hitting right. I don't love their dirty talk, and I read the author's note at the back, and they said this is kind of like inspired by Pretty Woman, like a gender swapped Pretty Woman. And on the one hand, I guess, on the other hand, it doesn't meet the Pretty Woman rule, okay? Pretty Woman works because the characters grow outside of their relationship for one another, right? So like she gains self-confidence and decides to stop being a prostitute and pursue something that she wants, that she feels worthy of. He becomes a nicer, more empathetic person, more in touch with the world, and pursues what he wants to do. And in this, we kind of know that Michael needs money for his family, for his mom's cancer treatments, and Stella wanted... Here's the thing. Did Stella even want a relationship before this? She, like, the setup was just not deep enough. And also, her obsession with his scent feels weird. Like, it's reading more like fan fiction. Like, it wishes it was some like Alpha Beta Omega wolf type fan fiction with all the scent and the mine and it's just not. And it's heterosexual, and it's just not hitting. And I feel like if I were a different person, I would DNF it, but I'm not. I'm me, so I'm gonna keep reading it. What is the third act conflict gonna be? It's gonna be stupid, isn't it? He's gonna end the contract because he feels like he's taking advantage of her, and I don't know. Also, I'm a little disappointed in it because in my mind, my expectations were they're going to do these like lessons. He's going to teach her about relationships and sex, and they're going to get to know each other through these meetings. And like they're going to slowly realize that they actually work really well together. And maybe something happens where they meet up outside of one of these things and, you know, she helps him jump his car or something, some unexpected skill from one of them that helps the other in a pivotal moment. Like, just, I wanted it to be a slower burn. I'm always more interested in a slow burn, but their chemistry, like, it was immediate. They immediately got along so well and had such good chemistry, and like 100 pages in, they were on their way to saying, I love you. Like, I've been reading 100 pages of them just bumbling around, miscommunicating, and I don't like that. I would have liked 100 pages of slow simmering tension and like, yeah, maybe they're having a ton of sex, but then they're building intimacy. Come on. Like, come on. Compared to what I had in my head, this is not it. Sorry.
I will probably finish it tomorrow. I have like 100 pages left. And I've been kind of listening to the audiobook, and the audiobook is fine.
Let's do some final thoughts on the books, because I finished them all. The vlog is over, and what's today? It's Thursday, so it took me like an extra 3 days to finish. That's fine. It still counts for the readathon. I'm gonna say I got a bingo. Final thoughts on The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. I'm gonna give this like a 2.5, rounded up to 3. It was fine. It was a perfectly fine romance, and I'm sure I know that a lot of people love this. It won the 2018 Goodreads Choice Award for Best Romance. So like a ton of people were really into this. I was not. I wanted slow burn. I wanted it to be fun. It wasn't fun. It was a little heavy. It was a little darker, but it never fully addressed those heavier topics. Like our main character Stella, who is neurodivergent, she has autism, or she is autistic, and she like thinks she needs to fix herself, and that she does in the end decide like, no, I don't need to change myself or fix myself. People need to accept me for me. But like the journey is it's not really clear like how she gets there. She just kind of decides. She just kind of gets fed up. I don't know. So what I wanted was like a slow burn, a little fun, like sexy times, teaching her how to be sexy or teaching her different moves, whatever. You get to see their chemistry through that, and then they start getting feelings. They fall in love. What happened was they meet, they start getting feelings, they fall in love, then they add sex to the mix, and they're like horny teenagers, and it's just hormonal nonsense with a little bit of love, and they just keep like putting each other in positions that aren't conducive to like getting to know one another. Michael, the male character, invites Stella to his house to meet his mom and sisters with no warning. Like he doesn't say, hey, my dad left my mom, it's really scarred our family, don't talk about it. Like he doesn't give her anything. He doesn't say, I think he tells her that he has 5 sisters, but he doesn't say like, hey, it's kind of a madhouse. Like, hey, he gives her 0 warning or information. And when she like kind of has a meltdown and keeps asking questions about his dad, and like it's just a disaster, and it's 100% his fault. He didn't prepare her. And if you had a significant other, you would prepare them better than that. He was just like, yeah, it's fine. The carelessness and the callousness with which they like brought each other into their life. Like, okay, he's a prostitute. He's a male escort. And they're fake dating. She's like, I want to pay you to fake date me because I need practice. I need practice in a relationship. Why wouldn't you start slow? Why wouldn't you start with something little? Not like meeting the family. It just all moved too fast, and it was stupid. I didn't like it. The third act conflict made sense because they never freaking talked. And I did like the very end. It made me smile at the very end when they were able to get together and like how it went down. But like overall, not worth it. And I have another Helen Huang on my shelf. Overall, I read I'm So Not Into You by Kosoko Jackson, and I gave this 2 stars. It was juvenile and it felt unfinished, unformed. There was no second chance romance. This was just a romance. We have no idea why they broke up, and therefore why they're not going to break up this time. I read Raiders of the Lost Heart by Joe Segura, and this I gave 4 stars, I'm pretty sure. It was really good. Adventure, romance. The like sex scenes were a little bit much. I didn't love the way the male character Ford treated the female character some of the times, and the internal monologue he had, but overall they had good chemistry, there was good banter, there was an adventure, there was a plot to move things forward beyond the romance. I ended up liking it. And of course, The Kiss Quotient, which I'm giving a 2.5 rounded up to 3 by Helen Huang. It just didn't work for me, you know? So those were the 3 books I read for the Cliterature Readathon. I met all the prompts, and thank you for voting if you voted to have me read this, because even though I didn't love it, I can now check it off my backlist books list because I think it's been on there for like 3 years. So thank you for watching. If you like this video, you could click that like button. You could subscribe, but really, you can do whatever you want, and I'll see you next time.